Osu is a rhythm game about clicking circles to the beat, and it's not easy to get good at. People have a favorite reason for why some players get good and others don't. That reason? Genetics. But most of the people who say Osu is a genetics game are nowhere near the point where it actually starts to matter. Some people are just built for things. Michael Phelps was built to be a swimmer. You could train every day for the rest of your life and you'd be nowhere near Michael Phelps. That's because you don't have the raw material or genetics to beat him. When people say Osu is a genetics game, they're usually pointing to things that make sense. Reaction time, or motor control, or how precise you can do a certain movement. Some people will just be better at them out of the box. That's the reality of anything competitive. When you get closer to the top, that's where genetics start to matter. Everyone in the top 100 has to fight tooth and nail to get there and to stay there. It's not like they're not trying to get number one either, but look at Emrek. The maps he can play are impossible to the vast majority of the Osu player base, and dare I say, even a majority of the top 100. At the very top level, practice is no longer the main variable. If everyone has thousands of hours of practice, then what sets players apart is the raw material, or their genetics. If your goal is to be the best player in the world, then genetics probably are your ceiling. But let's be realistic. For the vast majority of you, Emrek is worlds ahead of you. I am, by most reasonable measures, a pretty good player. I'm ranked 1,280 in the world with about 13,000 performance points. Even still, the gap between me and Emrek is 20,000 performance points. If you're ranked 50,000, you're not being held back by the same thing holding Emrek back. Let's be brutally honest, you're not really in the same conversation. At that level, genetics aren't what stop you, but let's entertain that idea for a second. Maybe your genetics are bad and that you genuinely were dealt a worse hand. Let's talk about a certain player called Mr. Dinklepuss, who you may better know as Tosu. He's top 600 in the world right now, playing streams in flow aim, which isn't exactly where the meta is. Currently, the game rewards speed and speed aim the most, but that's not what he plays. And one small thing I should mention. He taps with his feet. He has 2 foot pedals to tap. His feet hit the pedals, his right hand will aim, and his left hand sits on his desk to help stabilize him. Each note he hits, he literally kicks it with his feet. And he plays streams, the skill set that's entirely about tapping. Even so, he's top 600 in the world. If somebody can use their feet to hit streams at a top 600 level, I don't think it's your hands that are holding you back. So if it's not your hands or your genetics, what is it? Well, there's one variable that might be the strongest advantage in Osu: when you start. Emrek, the current number 1 player, was 9 years old. In fact, 9 out of the top 10 Osu players made their account before the age of 12. Now, before anybody says it, yes, I'm aware that Osu skews to a bit of a younger audience than most games. A lot of people made their account as a kid because that's who was playing the game in 2015 or 2016. But having 9 out of the top 10 in the same 3-year window is very specific. So what's actually going on? Well, some could say that it's due to something called neuroplasticity. In layman terms, it just means when you practice something, your brain physically gets stronger. The theory is that kids are better at this, and that a 9-year-old can learn something with more efficiency than you or I can. When researchers test it properly with the same task and starting point, the children learn faster effect gets a lot harder to find. One study taught darts to 10-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and 40-year-olds using their non-dominant hand. Each group improved, but not significantly more than any other group. So some researchers have gone as far as to call this golden age idea a neuromyth. If kids don't actually learn faster, how come 9 of the top 10 started before they were 12? The researchers have an answer for that too. It's not that kids are better learners. It's that a 9-year-old has a lot of something most adults have almost nothing of: time. It's easy for kids to put hours a day into a game without feeling like they're sacrificing something. That developmental window might still be a factor, but the time gap explains the same pattern. The time you start and the time you put in have nothing to do with genetics. So about that one person in the top 10 who started after the age of 12. Miloš made his account in September 2018 at the age of 15. Now, let's be real here, 15 isn't old. Even still, he's outside of that window that every other person on that list was in. 9 of them had started before 12, and Miloš had started at 15. And he's rank 6 in the world. There's an obvious advantage to starting early, but that's not the whole story. In fact, I'm the evidence that that's not the whole story. I made my account in July 2015 when I was 8 years old. I started at a younger age than anybody in the top 10, and I'm only ranked 1280. Not because 1280 is bad, but because I barely played for a lot of that time. That's because I have months with thousands of plays stacked to months with 0. I had the biggest head start you could possibly get in this game, and I just didn't use it. So let's be honest about what this actually means. If you were to pick up Osu at the age of 22, you probably wouldn't hit top 10. Let's be even more honest here, brutally even. You probably were never going to be top 10. Neither was I, or for that matter, really anyone watching this video, statistically at least. Everything we just talked about was all at the absolute peak of this game. That's only where it starts to matter. Wherever you are now, you're probably nowhere near it. You're not sitting at a developmental or genetic ceiling. I think Osu is a mental game first and foremost. Obviously, your hands matter, but after more than a decade of playing this game, I'm convinced that the biggest barrier isn't your hands. It's what you've already decided about yourself. So why does everyone reach for genetics as an excuse? Quite honestly, it's because it's the most comforting answer. It's a lot easier to say that people have better genetics than you than to say that they put more or better time into the game than you did. If the reason you're stuck where you are is genetic, it's no longer your fault. There's nothing to fix, and there's nothing that you should have been doing differently with your playtime. It absolves you of the responsibility for your skill level. That's what Osu is a genetics game is, a coping mechanism. Something I've noticed is that the people who tend to bring genetics up the most aren't the people that are grinding. They haven't found their ceiling, they just decided where it was. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. You can play every day for hours and still be stuck. Shouldn't that prove it's genetics? The answer is no. It usually just means you're practicing the wrong thing. If you boot up the game and only play maps that you can almost FC until you FC them and do that same thing over and over again, it's not a useful method of practice. It feels good because you're setting scores, but you're not actually improving. You're only playing what you're already good at. The truth is, actual practice sucks sometimes. It's playing what you're bad at. If you suck at speed, the only thing you can do to get better at speed is, well, play speed. The same thing goes for reading or jumps or aim control. It's not fun to play stuff you suck at for hours, but that's the trick to actually improving. And most people don't do that, opting to play what they're already good at. The decades-old play more advice is usually the answer. It's just a matter of playing the right stuff more. At the end of the day, genetics are a genuine factor in Osu's skill. Some people can be built for Osu, and at the very top of the game, that's where it actually matters. But the genetic ceiling is not one you've hit. The reason you're hard stuck is more likely due to how much you've played or where you put that effort. Anyway, that's enough for me. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe. It does help me out a lot. And anyway, I will see you guys next time. What was that? That was cringy as fuck. Whatever. We're keeping it in.